Live.
It's probably fine. I mean, if you're over there, it's probably not going to come through.
Okay, yeah, we are live, boys and girls, and I'm making sure the video feed is working and everyone is still moving and not frozen in place, which is nice. I am going to be monitoring this the entire time like I should have been in previous streams because I didn't know what I was doing. So, hello, welcome to the grand reunion of the Lipstick panel on the Greg Troyan YouTube channel. It's on the Greg Troyan YouTube channel because that channel actually gets views. Uh, so, welcome back to my former bandmates, Victor Krause, Mike Walsh, and Steven Smith, best bandmates in the world. Mike Walsh,
Yeah.
champion of backing vocals. Victor Krause, champion of doing music better than me. And Steve, champion of doing music better than me, but in a less commercial way, so less people like it. Welcome, welcome, gang. Steve is the opinion of, like, what if Greg had more talent but worse ideas?
I would argue that they're better ideas. They're just not cool ideas.
You know what? That's fair. What if Greg had better ideas that were also equally less commercial the better they were?
Just weird esoteric ideas
Like,
nobody else wants to really hear about.
yeah, just a sliding scale of less commercial things nobody wants to hear about. Speaking of such, we are listening
I feel like I got lighting.
Oh, you look terrifying. You look like
can
you're
make
ready
it
to be on an
worse.
episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark? Like the creepy guy in the woods who assaults the kids.
I just realized I have bike lights attached to my mic stand, so, why not look?
Now you just look like Joe Brandon. All we want is peace and happiness for the United States.
Every day will be a fairy tale.
Terrible underlighting, but it's better than, almost no light at all, I guess.
You actually,
So Taylor Swift.
No, that actually is worse. I think that is worse than no light at all. Well,
We
now
could,
it's
have a
strobe.
reunion.
You know, yeah, let it
There we
strobe.
go.
Let it strobe. But yeah, so Taylor Swift Fearless. So last time we ranked the songs on Fearless, and there were vault tracks on the Taylor's version, and everyone in the panel was like, this is too long. We're not going to rank these songs right now. But now we're back to actually rank the vault songs. So before we get into our ranking of the vault songs, let's go around the panel, talk about our history with Taylor Swift and these vault tracks, if we have any. So let's start with Mike, because he is the first in the corner on the stream. So, Mike, general Taylor Swift fandom and general thoughts on the vault tracks, what your thoughts were going into them, and what your thoughts were on the other side, knowing that these were leftovers from the album that were then revisited years later. I know you, as a big Kiss fan, would probably, get super excited if you heard that, like, in 98, Kiss was like, hey, we're going to redo Time Traveler and Sword and Stone on Psycho Circus. So you would have been probably hyped for that. So, what's your thought of that, with that perspective, like, what a big fan would think of this, and just your thoughts as a, new listener to the catalog?
Yeah, so I mean, my introduction to Taylor Swift back in the day was You Belong With Me, and so I would say these songs are a good amount away from that level of quality, but there's a couple that are definitely I would take over at least some from like the main album slash platinum edition album of the version of the album. But overall, listening to them, I'm like, okay, I can see why most of these were not didn't make the cut before. Um, but just the concept, I think, is cool. Yeah, for like Taylor Swift fans, why not put them out there? Like, there's nothing in there where I'm like, ooh, that no one should have ever heard that. There's nothing on that level. So yeah, make them available. I think there's a couple winners in there, and then maybe like four that are just like, eh. So yeah.
Yeah, so only one Time Traveler in the bunch, and a bunch of Promise the Moons.
Sure. I don't know. Promise the Moon. Is that a Kiss demo? I don't know that one.
What was that? What was that? I think that's what that Gene song, "Promise the Moon."
My Uncle is a Raft.
No, not My Uncle's Raft. I'll send you to that
Okay.
later. It was
Yeah,
like,
I'll have to check it out. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it was like it was a reworking of the difference between men and boys off the Elder, and then like Gene turned it into like a full vocal track around the Crazy Nights era. I'm actually surprised you haven't heard it.
Yeah, yeah, I suck.
All right. Well, speaking of people who suck, Steven Smith. Uh,
Yes.
what is your thoughts on the vault tracks, the general concept behind them?
So around 2015 or so, I'm just sort of making up that date, but that feels about right. I was biking around town and I realized, the artists that I absolutely hate, the ones that I cannot stand and wish they would stop creating music ever, are the ones that jump to mind are Shania Twain and Katy Perry. They're both women. That feels a little bit misogynistic. That's a problem, Steve. I should really reflect on that. Then I remembered Bon Iver exists and was like, oh yes, Bon Iver also sucks. Uh, and then Taylor Swift was like, what if we took leftover B tracks from my sad teenage incel period and tried to make them sound like Bon Iver? And that's a bad choice. That's not a good thing to do. These songs are generally, I think, utterly dispensable. We don't really need them for anything. But there's only 6 of them, so it's got that going for it.
So what you're saying is you're both misogynistic and don't like Bon Iver.
Yeah, so I'm not even trying to be funny whatsoever. I was like, who the heck is he talking about? I'm just now learning that it's Bon Iver. I've been saying Bon Iver this whole time. I couldn't even name you one song. I was gonna say I just know the name, but apparently I didn't even know that until 30 seconds ago. So
I had some coworkers in 2009 who really, really liked his Out in the Woods song. It's just like Hide and Seek by Imogen Heap if it was way, way worse. That's the Ooh What You Say song. So like take out the
I
Ooh What
remember the name being really
Yeah.
big for a while. And as an '80s rock guy, whenever I'd be like, "What's Bon Jovi up to?" It was like, "Do you mean Bon Iver?" Sorry, I'm gonna be on Bon Iver for a while. So I'm just Bon Iver is gonna take time.
in
Well,
Bon
and Bon
Iver.
Bon Iver is gonna show up a bit in later Taylor Swift albums too.
Yeah, you
That
will.
is true.
He's not actually on any of these songs, which they got that going for them too.
So you're just saying stylistically there's some elements of his music which I admit, or their music, sorry, that's a band. Which I don't
It's not. It's like saying the Smashing Pumpkins are a band.
or saying Lipstick is a band.
Right.
All right, well, I'll say that like I don't listen to their music, but I've enjoyed the collaborations with Taylor Swift for what that's worth. But haven't bothered to listen to their catalog. Victor, you are filling in for Julia today. So what are both of your thoughts on the Fearless Vault tracks? Because so this was back when Julia was actually a Swiftie and loved the music, and like, oh, leftovers from an era where I loved her songwriting. What happened?
To I think summarize for Julia, the situation was, oh, what if I got new tracks from a Taylor Swift era that I was nostalgic for? And it turned out that no, it was that wasn't enough. The songs were not good. I think for me, kind of the realization was these albums are already really long and pretty bloated, and I'm shocked to find out that the cutting room had a floor. I Man, this was not a good experience. Actually, for the album, the version that I listened to on YouTube had Today Was a Fairy Tale tacked on the end. Um, so I ranked that in the original album, and it was my last place on the album. And it is not the last place in my ranking of this. Uh, very much the opposite, which I think speaks to what I thought of these tracks. I will admit, uh, we've been moving and life has been fairly hectic for the last couple of weeks, so I didn't do my usual sitting down and writing out all of my thoughts and doing the ranking like that. But these songs aren't good, so who cares?
All right, so I actually really enjoyed these songs. When I first listened to them, I thought, "Ooh, okay, these are." I was not as hot on them, and I kind of was like, "Oh man, do we really want to do an entire episode on this batch of songs?" But as I listened to them more and more, they really started to grow on me. Where at this point, like, yeah, I kind of love these songs, and I'm actually a big fan of a bunch of them. And there's, I think, a solid few of them that like I'm happy are in my rotation. When they show up on shuffle, I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm happy it shows up. So I don't know if I'm just like in the way that like Mike and I are huge Kiss fans, and if we got like an extended rock and roll over with like 12 additional cuts, which is just like that's going to sound the same as a lot of the rest of the album, and you're not going to notice unless you're a diehard fan of the band and genre. You're going to be like, all right, this is just more of the same, but not as good. So classic '78. That is what this is to to Taylor Swift. But I mean, I genuinely enjoy these songs, and hot take, think some of them are pretty good. So but anyway, thank you to everyone tuning in to four white guys on the internet talking about music. Oh wait, oh, and we've got some Lady Celery in the chat. So it looks like she is in the chat. Thank you, Julia, for contributing to the chat, even though you are just in the other room getting ready for Run Fair because you got to leave.
I have her notes as well. So
Oh, is that why
just
she was
sort of
wearing a
here.
cape? That makes more sense.
Yeah, no, capes are coming
does
back,
she need a
man.
reason to wear a cape?
I'm ready to bring capes
Capes
back. Like, if we all make a pact right here to bring capes back, we can do it.
We'd get on board.
Yeah, next album, capes. For the
So,
stream.
as I'm talking about these songs generally being pretty good and me enjoying them, the way we do these rankings is we start with whatever the group ranked as the worst song first. So there'll be, of course, less praise for this one. Coming in at the bottom of the list is You Will All Over Me, which I ranked at the bottom, Mike ranked at the bottom, Julia ranked second from the bottom, Steve ranked third from the bottom, and Victor, you gave this 5 points, but you don't seem super enthusiastic about any of these. So do you want to go first, Victor, since you have the highest praise for this, maybe?
Yeah, which one is this? This is the slow one.
One of the slow ones.
One of the slow ones.
The less good slow one.
I don't remember this at all.
I think this was, if I remember, I think this is the second track of these vault tracks. Right after Today Was a Fairytale. I think that's where this is.
It is. Yeah, I have it pulled up now. Yeah.
Why did I put this second?
You put it third.
I put it third.
Well, while you're thinking, I'll start. So here's the trick with this one. It's
what the hell was I thinking?
it's a ballad, and it's kind of slow even for a ballad, and it's kind of boring even for a ballad. This is like when Steve talks about ballads being slow and boring. This is what I picture Steve hears every time he hears a ballad. And because there are lots of really good ballads that I think are like really heartfelt and have enough good dynamics in the melody to keep you engaged, and there's like a beautiful sweetness to a lot of ballads. This one's actually like, no, this is actually slow and boring. And so if like this is what I think Steve thinks every single ballad in the world sounds like.
Okay, I figured out what happened.
Okay.
I fucked up is what happened. and it still landed in last place, so it's fine.
Did you mean to rank this one much lower?
I mean, not that it matters, but I mean to do anything when I crapped this ranking out? Tough to say.
So does Julie have notes on this one?
I think I maybe mixed it up with We Were Happy. Let me get Julia's notes on it.
I mean, she's in the chat. She wrote Z.
And that's not terribly far off from what she wrote here, which is boring as hell, but you could sub it out for any of the boring tracks on the album and it wouldn't make a difference. It's nothing.
All right. Steve, do you have any commentary other than it's a ballad and it's boring and slow?
I mean, this one, due to no fault of its own, set itself up to be a disappointment in that the synth in the intro was reminiscent by Dead Horse by Bent Knee, which is an amazing song.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
heard that and was like, oh shoot, Dead Horse. Oh no, I'm listening to these Taylor Swift songs. And then this, middling slow song with a bad mix played on, and I was like, oh, I'm just not having a good time here. But I'm not having the worst time, I guess. Just a mediocre time.
All right, Mike. You also ranked this last. I doubt I'm going to get much love on this song, but you take the reins, grab the bull by the horns, as it were.
Yeah. Honestly, you pretty much nailed it for me. Is like I don't hate ballads like Steve. Definitely in my song cookbook, they're like an ingredient where I'm like, use sparingly. Like a really great ballad hits, but a boring ballad is just kind of bogs me down.
You got to have the
Tempo-wise.
side salad for the fiber, but very rarely are you excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, kind of. It's like if you're gonna do it, make it good. And I mean, obviously, I like rock music where it's like one ballad per album, a couple, but like Taylor Swift, it's kind of the other way around. It's like here's 29 ballads and 3 up-tempo songs. Um, and this is just one where it's just like it's a boring one. It's not really memorable. It's not offensive. I don't remember like I wasn't like this. It wasn't torture. If you were like, I'm gonna lock you in a room and this is gonna be on for an hour, it's so not anything where I'm like I could just tune it out. So it wouldn't torture me for an hour. Some music would, but if that's the nicest thing I can say about it, it's not torture. I don't know if that's praise either.
It's the kind of thing. It's not. It's inoffensive, but it's not something you're gonna seek out necessarily. Like if it's on in the background
Exactly.
at a grocery store, you're not gonna be like, "This sucks." As opposed to if you heard
Right.
Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum at the background of a grocery store, just like, what employee just quit and took over the playlist?
But also this rocks. So you're saying this isn't the worst song to be waterboarded to?
Correct.
If we were on a road trip, Chase would not tell you to turn this shit off immediately, Steve. He wouldn't be excited about it. He would probably just fall asleep. And he wouldn't just be angry, glaring at you the whole ride.
Hey, he took 3 songs to yell at me to turn off the Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum album. Maybe it was only 2. But like the very first song is just kind of like a weird metal song. He was okay with, I think. It was the ambient, slow-moving instrumental about spiritual abuse that he was like, what? I don't even know what's going on.
Yeah, but
And it's longer than most ballads.
Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum is your speedball gem.
Except I unironically like Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum.
I unironically like speedball jam.
Do you?
I think it's because
I'm pretty sure when we listened to that album, you like 20 minutes in, you were just fuming out and talking about child abuse.
I think I've.
You
That's because I
living your childhood to avoid having to listen to that album.
But that's because I felt bad about making you go through it. I don't mind. Like, look, it's like, if you're gonna do like kinky BDSM stuff, like not all your friends are gonna be into it. I don't want someone trampling on your balls, dude. Unless you're into it. It's just friendly consideration. It's already been demonetized, so I don't care.
You got a little counter over in the corner, like demonetizations.
of money just going down the drain.
Right.
Going into debt talking about Taylor Swift.
Julia also votes we should be listening to Bent Knee instead of Taylor Swift.
Well, Gavin didn't show up.
Dang it, Gavin.
Dang it, Gavin. We were happy.
Dang it.
It's not on the
When
list.
we were happy. Oh, yeah.
So, Julia
Okay,
gave this 6 points, so second from the top. What are Julia's notes on this one?
Julia had to say, this is White Horse again, but worse. I find the verses not engaging. The chorus is okay, and having Keith Urban do the backup helps. Because obviously she broke up with Keith Urban, had to come in for a couple of tracks.
Wait, was
Yeah,
Keith Urban on that one?
I thought it was
yeah, he
on.
did the backups for that one,
He's on That's When.
but he's not featured on that one.
Got it.
Or
So
on
Oh,
this
so he's
one.
like he's
So
also
he's-
secretly on When We Were Happy.
Yeah,
Oh,
he was around.
he was just hanging out. He's like, well, I'm in the neighborhood. I think this song it falls into similar territory of You All Over Me, but I think this one just has better hooks and a little bit more energy during different musical movements. And so it's just more memorable, more pleasant to listen to. Like, as far as I have slow ballads in this collection, this is a better of these, slow ballads. And, it's the kind of thing where, like, when You All Over Me is on, it's like, oh, right, I got to get through this one on the list. Versus when We Were Happy is on, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I bop a little bit more to this one. So I think it's a better written ballad, and I just enjoy it more. I think musically it's a little bit more interesting, and but it does have a lyric that I will complain about. It's not the ultimate lyric to complain about on this ranking, which we'll get to later.
I'm curious what you consider to be the ultimate one.
The ultimate one, I will tell you. I'll give a slight spoiler to Victor. It's from your number one song on the album, and I'll see if you can guess.
Yes. That's where all of my least favorite lyrics are from.
And I'll see if you can guess which line I heard in that song. I'm just like, that's stupid. That is a dumb line. And I generally actually, for those first-time viewers, I actually like Taylor Swift as a writer and lyricist. I like the Challenge of the Thesaurus. I enjoy that. And I generally think she's a good songwriter and good lyricist. But that's not to say that, like, look, even McCartney had some questionable choices. There's a questionable choice on that song, which we'll get to. But the line, when it was good, baby, it was good, baby, is not necessarily the best lyrical content I've heard in my entire life, and that is what I will say.
She's talking about barbecue there.
Ah,
She's like, when it was good, baby back ribs. That's the implication.
I'm vegetarian now, so I think it's a stupid line.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I'm not.
But that's a me problem. That's a me problem.
But
also, I think even being vegetarian, you like those taste good. Yeah, there's reasons not to eat them,
right?
And I have those same reasons, but
sometimes doing things that are like cruel to a sentient creature are just pleasant and delicious.
Yeah, I mean, I like BDSM.
Consensual barbecue.
Yeah, sweet pain. It drives me insane. Mike, you gave this 3 points. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely ranked it over You All Over Me because, like, it's more engaging. I could actually tell you, like, what it was about. Like, when she's singing, I'm like, oh, I get what she's conveying here. I don't even remember what You All Over Me was about. Like, 2 months from now, you could tell me that was like a crazy sex song, and I'd be like, oh, I kind of remember that. You know what I mean? It's gone. We Were Happy. I actually, I remember what he was singing about. Like you said, you bop a little bit more to it. It's more, there's just more interesting going on in the song. Not stellar by any means, but it smokes You All Over Me. So, well, apparently not. Apparently, it only slightly beats by one spot, but I think I had it a little higher, 1 or 2 more higher or something.
Yeah, Victor ranked this second from the bottom. So, do you have any commentary on this one, Victor, other than you like baby back ribs?
They also mention this is the one where they talk about buying his dad's farm, right? And I was like, Jesus, can't he inherit something? That's the only thing I remember about this song. It's like, I don't mind a farm being passed from a father to a son. He's gonna make him buy it. Jesus Christ.
You know what? That
Maybe it was
good.
like a
Earn it.
symbolic purchase, like son, hand me $1, and you have now
It could be
you
like
bought
that,
your
yeah.
first farm, son. You know what I
But
mean?
they talk about like we were planning to buy
Yeah,
something.
I know.
I feel like you gotta work a little harder to raise a
Yeah.
single dollar
Well,
than to raise
it's
a
probably
single
that his dad is in debt because of the intense capitalist society that we live under, and so like he has to buy the farm from the bank. So it's like your
Mm,
daddy's farm, but the bank owns it.
okay.
Your
I
daddy's
mean, it's
farm owned by
pretty common
BlackRock.
for it's pretty common for banks for farms to have a pretty substantial debt, but almost never is a farm ever underwater. They tend to have a lot of debt, but that debt is, offset by land,
Well, yeah, if it was underwater, the crops would be flooded. Steve, come on.
right? But yeah, you do
Jesus
potentially end
Christ.
up with a situation where like in order to truly run the farm, he would need to like start paying down, the debt that his dad has on it
So Steve, you
rather
gave this
than,
4 points. Does this song put you in debt?
uh no, it does
Yeah, is the farm
not.
monetized?
So one of my complaints about the genre of country music in general is that it is a very narrative driven genre. Like people tell stories with these songs.
But there's no
But
space aliens or demons or swords.
exactly, so much of it is boring stories. Like tell a cool story. And she like she hints at maybe there are cool stories like, remember that time we snuck into the circus. So that's an obvious thing. Like one of the core tenets of storytelling, of writing a book, is if your characters talk about a more interesting story that happened to them, you should tell that one instead. And so she's
Tell that
got
to
this
George R. R.
boring
Martin,
song
dude.
about she's got this boring song about, hanging out with a boy and being like, "Remember that time we did something cool? Yeah, that was neat. Anyway, let's not talk about that." Not a fan.
I'll
I'm
say
mostly just
this.
stalling for filling time because I don't remember anything about this song. It's right in the middle of my ranking, and I didn't write anything interesting about it in my notes.
I'll say this.
I'm just
Interesting
looking at the
stories do
lyrics.
not lead to good songs all the time, as evidenced by the genre of power metal.
Well, do bad stories also lead to fucking sick songs? Because it didn't work here. I think I just say stack the deck in your favor.
Right, exactly.
All right. Well, hey, next up on the list, we are keeping these ballads going. Oh, wait. Oh, shoot. I have a tie that I did not accurately check which one broke the tie.
Coin flip, coin flip.
Okay. Let's see. So I've got
Breaking his own rules.
one. There was more just I was expecting more rankings to come in and wasn't paying that
Rigging the
close of
votes.
attention. I think.
Rigged election. Well, and this
Oh,
is
this looks like a. This looks like an actual. Okay. No, I see the winner. Okay, so the winner, based on the tiebreaker rules, would be "Don't You" is next on the list. Well, which is still a ballad. We are still going through these ballads, but that is the one that wins in this tie. Now that I've done the math live on camera, so again, I think I mean we're progressively going up in my ranking. So I think this is I think it's a good, catchy little song. I think it's a ballad, but I think it's more memorable than the ballads we've already discussed on this ranking. I enjoy it. I think it's catchy. I mean, really, like it's catchy. It's got a good melody, and it's a decent enough song about heartbreak where, like, yeah, it works for me. I mean, a lot of these songs sort of fall into similar lyrical territory, just like I'm sad about a relationship that has ended, or have regrets, or like wondering what the other person thinks about now that the relationship has ended. Like different angles to that same theme. And so I don't know. This one works for me. I gave it 4 points. I like it. Julia ranked this as last place. So Julia does not like it.
Yeah, Julia says it's just you all over me, but with Jack Antonoff showing up and making everything worse. Snoozy bland production, snoozy bland song.
Oh, man, she does not like Jack Antonoff, I'm guessing.
Well, I think we've actually discussed this a little bit. We're thinking of Jack Antonoff as somebody who kind of um it sort of rises to the level of her collaborators.
Wait, Jack
We were talking
Antonoff
about
or Taylor Swift?
both of them actually, which made this so super confusing. So like when Taylor Swift has a good collaborator, like her game kind of raises, and the same goes for Jack Antonoff. But when it's two people who have to be raised by somebody else, it kind of doesn't go anywhere. But like Jack Antonoff produced like Lana Del Rey, and that some of that stuff's turned out pretty good. Uh, but yeah, the Julia didn't like the production on this one. I actually, just because it sounded a little different from some of the other songs, gave it a little extra uh boost in my head, but I it's not because I thought the song was awesome. It sounded slightly different from the other ones.
I mean, I actually like Jack Antonoff's production with Taylor Swift, but also I generally like most of the catalog except for like well, we'll get to it when we get to it, and then I don't know. I this worked for me. Stevie gave this 5 points. Where you just refreshed with different production.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it. It was a more interesting production. It had like a kind of 80s synth vibe. It had fake flute, which I think is a fun instrument to use. I ended up docking it a few points just because I feel like she's really recycling melodies a lot on these songs. Like
Oh yeah.
the major vocal hooks on this sounded like "You Belong with Me" and uh what was the other? "That's When" from earlier in the album.
Big
Yeah.
time.
One thing I heard
So
on
it's
a
just like,
on a Taylor Swift fan podcast, they were talking about how they felt like one of the reasons a lot of these songs were cut was because they were early versions of "You Belong with Me," and she hadn't quite gotten it. And then she got it, and then the lesser version of the songs just all went to the wayside. And so, in some ways, you have like this collection of songs is sort of like looking at the process of a songwriter as they go through different iterations of the same idea until they get to like the aha, that's it moment. And so then it's whether or not those earlier versions are worthy of enjoyment in their own right. And, there's, debate that can be held on that subject. I think they try to do enough interesting things with production to make it not as obvious, but I think it's still noticeable to the astute ear. I don't know. I think I enjoy them for what they are, and do think they stand enough on their own as like a guy who's listened to AC/DC. Like, oh man, you used a similar melody. Like, yeah, all right. You know what? At least there's like a different production thing going on here. So, Mike, you also gave this 5 points. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like a couple of you guys have said, it was a change in production that first stood out to me. Actually, I think my first listen around had this at number two. And then I was like, okay, I need to bump it down a little bit. But yeah, just I liked it. Like Steve said, there is a little bit of that '80s like synthy kind of thing going on, and it's just different enough to be like, oh, this is kind of, Whereas like you all over me, I know again what that sounded like. It was just like the worst version of Taylor Swift, or at least Taylor Swift that I've heard so far. And this was like, oh, okay, yeah, Taylor Swift doing something kind of a little different. And then just briefly on that note of you were saying like songs led to the progression of "You Belong with Me," and like do they have their own merits or not? Like, I mean, for the way these were released, like, yeah, I say just release 'em. I mean, what fans or what like negative career impact did Taylor Swift have by releasing these songs?
Actually, it was a full
Absolutely.
positive. It made fans treat this like a new
Exactly.
release,
She had
and
she had
so
no downside whatsoever, and, like, I know there's Taylor Swift fans out there who are like, "This is so cool, like, You All Over Me is amazing." You know what I mean? Like, so for that level of joy that, like, some random fans got, just release it. Sure, I'm all about it. Just because it's not doing it for me, like, I'm all for it, all for it.
yeah, it's like what was it? What did like Mad Dog eventually turn into like Flamin' Youth or something like that? Like you see different elements of different Kiss songs,
Yeah,
like in the
yeah.
demos. Now they
I'm
transform
I
over
it when
time.
when you go deep with music, like, I think that does it for you. Like, yeah, and if you're not really into that artist, then you don't want their like demos collection, but like why would you seek it out? You know what I mean?
Because Greg made you.
Yeah, Greg
Well, yeah,
told me
you
to.
know.
Well, hey, at least you properly recorded the demos. Oh,
Yeah.
we got more comments from Lady Celery. All she does is recycle melodies. She is not inventive. She is not inventive because she doesn't have a curious mind.
Is this on the Facebook chat? Like,
This is
I'm not
in
getting
this is in the
the.
YouTube
No,
live
it's on
chat.
the stream.
Yeah, I'm not seeing them. Well, it doesn't matter, but yeah, I'm not getting her comments for whatever reason.
Huh.
Yeah, it's on the YouTube stream.
Oh,
But
on the YouTube stream. I'm looking in Discord. Okay, never
yeah,
mind.
no.
Ah,
Okay.
All right, I think we've got everyone's comments on Don't You. So now we're going to the song that ultimately won the tie, which would be That's When. Ended up winning the tie between the two songs.
How have we not gotten a Bye Bye Baby yet?
Uh,
A worthy question.
mathematics.
Mm,
There's
like,
only so many songs, so it's like
someone. It sounds
it's a
like
little
at least one
lucky.
person, maybe a couple of them, just had wrong ranking.
It's more just it ranked 1 point above these two that were tied. So for the point breakdown, last place song was 12 points. Then we had We Were Happy, which was 17 points. And then That's When and Don't You both have 18 points. The next song has 19 points, then 22 points, then 34 points.
Yeah, just to clarify, Greg, I'm not questioning your math skills. I'm questioning people's ranking skills.
Oh, right. No, I
Well,
question my math skills.
skills.
This is a spreadsheet with a formula.
well, and Mike, I mean, I'm sure Steve put a little bit of RNG in his, and I put a little bit of not remembering what song was what when sending my ranking in. So
This was actually a short enough list of songs. I didn't really need to randomize it. I was able
dang,
to,
just me then, huh?
yeah, I was able to actually look at it and be like, all right, there's only 7 songs. I can listen
can
to
handle
these
this.
and not have forgotten all of them by the time I get to the end and actually be able to say, okay, that's what I actually thought. I mean, I still have 4 of them as 5 out of 10s because that's the baseline, but
Well, I guess the reason I thought of Bye Bye Baby now when Greg mentioned That's When is I'm like, oh man, because I can sing That's When back to you now. Like I don't even remember how
Yeah.
Bye Bye Baby goes, and I'm just like, That's When I thought. Oh, again, out of the 7, I thought it stood out a little bit because I'm like, oh, it's got a little bit more of a noticeable melody, like cool. Um, Keith Urban, I'm neutral on Keith Urban's presence on this song. It does not really add or take away anything for me. Like this could have just been a Taylor Swift song without him, and it would have been the same thing to me, pretty much. But yeah, like I don't know, it's okay. Pleasant enough. I guess somewhere in the middle of the 7 for me.
Yeah, I actually ranked it second. I like this one a lot. I actually will, on occasion, listen to country in the car when driving. I was actually listening to some country in the car while driving today, and I was thinking to myself, "Man, are these lyrics problematic?" But like, I enjoy this musically. um, so, but I think Keith Urban is a pleasant enough artist. I don't really listen to him on the regs, but whenever a song of his comes up, I don't immediately go, "Oh, this is terrible. Turn it off." So,
Oh yeah, I mean I'm fine with him in general. It's
yeah.
just I was just saying for this song, I wasn't like yes Keith Urban makes this song, nor was I like oh he's bringing it down. It was he just happens to be on it.
I think
it just happens.
he sounds very good on the track. They sound very good together. It has like a good drive-in melody. It's catchy, which is important for me. I don't know. I dig it. I think it's nice to see her go back to like sort of the country roots with a little bit more production sophistication, where it doesn't have to be as strictly country in terms of the production, but when you add Keith's presence on the track, it gives it that more country feel. I don't know. I dig it. I enjoy it. It makes me happy listening to it. I enjoy this song. Julia gave it 3 points, and Victor gave it 4 points. So Victor, I didn't maybe hate it as much, or still did, but just like embarrassment of not riches.
I think Julia and I are kind of in agreement on this one, where it's just like it's kind of a generic song that even Keith Urban can't save. She specifically said, "I think so many of these songs just blend into each other completely, and this one stands out for a bad reason, which is that the chorus is grating."
I like the chorus.
This one is just like, man, Keith Urban, like Taylor Swift is never gonna write a song as good as Somebody Like You. That song is so good. And Keith Urban had to lower himself, and I feel bad for him.
Fair enough. Well, hey, speaking of misogynists, Steve, what did you think of this when you ranked it at the bottom?
I did rank it at the bottom. Fun that these two were tied and both had somebody rank them at the bottom. So this was the other one that, had all the same major hooks as You Belong With Me. So it just felt, I hadn't considered that it might have been essentially a demo version of that song, but that doesn't really improve my opinion of it. Like I'm not interested in the the early drafts of these songs particularly. And it had a slightly worse mix than everything else on this song. So just like, was generally felt redundant, even if it was, or felt repetitive and derivative of her other stuff, even if this was an earlier version, and didn't sound good. So to the bottom.
I thought it sounded good, but also I like problematic country music. Well, hey, we are zooming through this ranking, guys. It has not even been an hour, and we're all. Wait, comments from the chat. The repetitions of "That's When" drive me crazy. It's just the grading and the laughing when I was crying. It sucks. That is Julia, who is still on the episode and probably could have done the entire thing at this point.
Yeah, she's prepping. She's over there prepping.
When you say she's
She
over there
was
prepping, you mean
prepping while we
she's-
were casting.
she's prepping as in she's putting together a bug out bag so that she can go hide in the woods when the Taylor Swift fans come after us?
Yeah, not a half bad.
I'm
idea.
safe. They're actually no. I criticized you all over me as being like a kind of a boring ballad, which like
And Greg, you're platforming Taylor Swift.
I am
haters as well.
platforming. I am platforming.
Hashtag canceled.
I am basically Logan Paul over here, and you all are Donald Trump.
Terrible song.
So, all right, we are at the third place song on the list, which Mike has been waiting for, and Victor has been waiting for, apparently. Bye Bye Baby. And that's on the list.
Yeah, just too high. I mean, so 3 out of 7. That means it's in like more towards the top end. No, no, I don't even hate it. I just don't remember it. I had it right above You All Over Me, right? I don't even remember now, but that sounds right.
Yeah, you gave it 2 points.
Yeah, it was just a slightly less boring You All Over Me. I don't know. I'm not even trying to be a dick. I don't even remember it. I mean, I remember. I know I listened to it. I listened to all these like 3 times, but I couldn't even sing it back to you.
I don't
Obviously,
remember
that's
it
why I
either.
ranked it pretty low. I just thought it was kind of like, you could leave that one. Like, that one could have stayed on the cutting floor that Victor mentioned, where it's like, where is this floor? Yeah, I can't say anything about it other than the fact that I can only say that I can't say anything about it because whatever.
All right. Let's have Victor go next, and then if I don't know if there's that much difference between you giving it 1 point and Julia giving it 5 points. Is there that much difference?
Not really. Julia said, "I don't know how to care about this one. It's nothing." And my take on it is I also don't remember how it goes at all, and the general sentiment of "Bye Bye Baby" was already very famously covered. Already, that song is much better.
All right, Steve, you ranked this. You gave this. You put this in second place. So, what are your thoughts on this one?
I
What
mean,
the hell?
leaning towards the positive, honestly. In that basically, I listened to this song and said, "Sounds like Pinch Me." I'm gonna go listen to Maroon instead, and I listened to Maroon instead, and that's a pretty good album by a seminal Canadian band. That said, "Pinch Me" is obviously the better of those two songs, and the topic of "Pinch Me," i.e., I'm sad and depressed because I'm Canadian and everything's covered in snow, I guess, is much more interesting than Taylor Swift writing another song about I'm sad because boys.
So I'm going to tell you this right now, Steve, and I mean this in the meanest way possible. Canadians talking about snow being more interesting than Taylor Swift's love life is just not true. And I know you think, but no, seriously, snow in Canada is so much more interesting than Taylor Swift's love life. Look, I'm not even interested in Taylor Swift's love life. The rest of the world disagrees with you. You're wrong. You're just wrong,
fair,
Steve.
The snow is implied. The song definitely takes place during the summer. It's about depression.
I understand that. I'm still making fun of you for that.
You mean this in the meanest and least accurate way possible.
Yes.
My take is the only difference is snow in Canada is less marketable than Taylor Swift's love life.
I mean, yes, that's why it's less interesting. It's like, cool.
That
Literally.
doesn't make it better or worse.
Right. No, I'm not saying it makes it better or worse, but I'm saying as far as like, man, what is more interesting to the general public? Sorry, Canada and snow is not the number one.
Well, what the fuck do I care about the general public for? They like Taylor Swift.
Right, it's true. Their taste is terrible. But I don't know, seriously though, like Eras Tour or Winter Olympics? Both very popular things.
That's true. Do the Winter Olympics cause earthquakes?
I have no idea. I don't know that anyone's ever like measured the Winter Olympics on the Richter scale.
And you're saying it's good that she did that?
I'm not saying it's good or bad. I mean, it's cool. It's definitely cool. I'm like that is pretty sick. Like if you could tour and like, yeah, I caused an earthquake. Like I am wrecking the climate. I am wrecking this planet with my private jet and my earthquakes.
Yeah.
I mean, I am Gojira.
What was the story with her? I heard about her causing an earthquake, but like, because I mean, there's like sporting events all the time where you have like fans jumping.
Yeah, I think it wasn't so much she actually caused an earthquake as her show registered on the Richter scale.
But I meant why that other than like other massive public events? Like, was it just coincidence or
I'm guessing like other events also do it, but it's less of a big deal because Taylor Swift.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know like something happened. Like, oh, and then in the middle of her fourth song, a bus also collided into the stadium. You know what I mean? I didn't know if there was like exacerbating like reasons. Okay, yeah.
I'm guessing it's like how the Super Bowl breaks the television viewing audience record every year or whatever.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so I gave this 5 points. I like this song. I enjoy a bit of theatricality, and I like albums with like sort of like a thematic closer. It's called Bye Bye Baby, that being the closing track. I like. In the same way that, Goodbye was the closing track on Paul Stanley 1978. A song that says goodbye at the end of the album as a farewell. I enjoy that. Cry to Heaven at the end of, Bat Out of Hell 3 was a great closing track. And this reminds me a lot of Dream Baby Dream, which was the closing track on a Bruce Springsteen album. And so the fact that it reminds me of Springsteen in a good way, I think it's catchy, which is, the thing I care about the most. Is it catchy? Yes. And I think it's a goodbye song, but it's not like overly depressing. It has like just enough that like bittersweet triumph that you want for a closing track, where it's not like complete doom and gloom. So I enjoy where this one lands, and I like it a lot. So I gave it 5 points.
On the catchiness thing, none of us can remember how it goes.
I mean,
I was thinking that too. I'm like, catchy. I'm gonna have to re-listen to it because I do not remember it being catchy at all.
Oh, I think it's catchy, but also I have gone full Howard Hughes and refused to sing ever again, so I will not sing the song on the podcast.
Also, you're already getting demonetized. You don't want to get hit with a copyright strike.
That's true. So, but yeah, I don't know.
Your movie theater.
Yeah. But I sincerely enjoy this track quite a bit, and it's a very pleasant surprise for me because this is like one of the vault tracks I'm going to rank to third, so one of the ones I enjoy more. I like a lot. But next up is a song I ranked third from the bottom, which I still like, but I think there's a lot of problems with this track. Victor ranked this as his number one. We've got Today Was a Fairy Tale, and that's on the list. I'm going to get it out of the way. This is the song with the lyric that I think is stupid, that I was talking about in the group chat.
All of them are stupid. That's why it's so much better than all the other
If
songs.
you had to guess what the line I think is, everyone gets one guess as to what they think Greg's dumb line in the song is.
Dude, I already told you that you literally made me like read every lyric, which I never do with any music, and I couldn't find any lyrics that I have no clue what you're talking about. So I'll let the others weigh in.
Yeah, so
Clue.
I don't know if I have a good guess. I can just tell you what I think the funniest one is.
all right, yeah, you give me the funniest one. Steve, you give me your guess, and then Mike, and then I'll reveal if any of you got it right. So each of you get one line. We'll
You
start-
were in a dark gray t-shirt.
All right, Steve, what's your guess or your dumbest or dumb line?
Well, the line that really caught me out was when she rhymes Prince, Distress, and Six. But I'm gonna guess the line that you thought was dumbest was Today Was a Fairy Tale, You've Got a Smile That Takes Me to Another Planet, because you have such great respect for sci-fi and fantasy world building and hate to see them muddled together that way in a song like this. Oh wait, me. But still.
Look, sci-fi and fantasy are the same thing. Mike Walsh.
I have no clue. I used to be a damsel in distress because Taylor Swift is an empowered woman. I have no clue.
Here it is.
I mean,
Here is
terrible
my
lyric.
dumb lyric for this song. I can feel my heart. It's beating in my chest.
That is a good line. That is a good line.
Where else is your heart going to be beating? Unless you're Meatloaf and it's Bat Out of Hell flying out of your body like a bat out of hell, that is where your heart is going to be beating, in your chest. Of course it is. I can feel my heart. It's beating in my chest.
I've definitely felt my heartbeat like other places on my body.
Yeah, you can feel your pulse in a lot of places in your body. Like if you have a really bad headache, you're probably
That's your
you're feeling
pulse. That's
pulsing in
not
your head.
that's not your heart.
What do you
It's
think
symbolic.
causes your pulse, Greg?
Right, but you're like, I can feel my heart. It's beating in my chest. No shit.
I mean, is it the most brilliant lyric ever? I probably not.
Yeah,
But
it is.
like, I don't know, man.
I love it.
think
I'm
really
saying by the standards of Taylor Swift lyric writing, which like I generally think is not bad. I actually think she's a good lyricist. This is a level significantly below the bar she usually sets. Like if I heard this in a Kiss song, I'm like, all right, that's Gene doing his thing, talking about stupid shit. But I expect better from Taylor Swift. I would not. And like at least when Jim Steinman did it, like, and then it burst out my body while I got in a motorcycle wreck. Like, okay,
See,
that's
there's
something.
a good example of writing a song about something interesting happening.
Right? How many motorcycle accidents has Taylor Swift written about?
Not nearly enough.
Discounted Swift on security because she may not be real Taylor Swift.
But yeah, that line is kind of dumb. But the song's catchy, so I like it. That's my thoughts.
So I put this one close to the bottom. This is where I piled all my notes about production for this album. I really don't like the way this set of songs is produced. They've got this super weird thing where it's like massively overproduced. There's a ton of elements, and then everything just gets buried. So you can't distinctly hear anything in the mix except for the vocals. She's doing the opposite of Gish in all the worst ways, where she's like, all of the instruments are equally unvaluable except for my voice. Bury the drums, bury the bass, bury the guitar, bury the mandolin. Only vocals are audible.
That's probably why I like it. It's like, whoa, what if Gish was done right?
because Billy has such a beautiful voice and is such a lackluster guitar player.
Right?
Billy should have hired a different singer. I mean, honestly, yeah, that was me being facetious. But now that I thought about it for more than 2 seconds, like, no, that's actually a completely valid and correct take.
um, can I go?
Yeah, you can go. I'll add one more thing. So this song was actually not an unreleased demo. This was a song from the soundtrack of a movie called Valentine's Day, which I've heard is a really bad movie. So this was released to the general public back in the day, but it wasn't on the album. It was like released around the same era, so that's why it's a bonus track on this version of the album. But Victor, go ahead.
We also, Julia and I watched her scene in Valentine's Day, and it's something. It's really funny when you go like when you're watching a movie and you're like not thinking about it, and that actually means that an actor is pretty good if you're not thinking about it, and then Taylor Swift walks in and is trying to do acting, and it really blows your mind at how bad she is at it. But this song, as I said, I ranked this at the bottom of the album when I thought it was included on the album, and it is so much more interesting than all the other songs on this collection of songs, mostly because it's bad, but it's at least like funny bad. The whole hook is today was a fairy tale, and not only is it like sort of a telling of a pretty mediocre date, it's like the only parts of the date that is described is like her getting picked up for the date, and then nothing happens. It's amazing. Today was a fairy tale. I wore a dress. It's
You wore a gray t-shirt.
yeah. It's like today was a fairy tale, and then completely mundane things happened, just like in a fairy tale. There were no magical creatures. We didn't go on any kind of journey. We in fact didn't do anything at all. At some point we kissed, and the only things
At one point,
that I just
The
yeah,
magic is
the
in the
other things that are
relationship,
described-
man.
Yeah, I was gonna say, maybe that's the point. Is like she pointed out that he's wearing a gray T-shirt because like gray is just kind of like a gray sky, kind of bland, and yet just spending time with this guy was like a fairy tale.
The only other things that happen in the song are he smiles, they kiss, and he stands somewhere and she notices.
And
That's all you
that is
need.
just so
That's-
amazing to her because
This
she
guy
loves
must
him
be
so
pretty
much.
damn great if he can't even put on a button up for a date.
right?
It could have been a great. Oh yeah, no, it was a T-shirt.
I
yeah.
won a gray T-shirt on a date, and you know what? I ended up marrying the chick, so it worked out okay.
I'm
And-
just thinking like she is a generic, conventionally attractive blonde girl. He's a generic, conventionally attractive dude in a gray t-shirt in Nashville. They're the most boring possible couple. Yeah, like Victor's really got something with
No wonder the song turned out so good.
They're just like these are like a tabula rasa fake people. Even more so than most songs where you're meant to project yourself into the protagonist.
Yeah, the lyrics of this are like not even as descriptive as Friday by Rebecca Black. It is just so nothing. But
More
in it-
distinct things happen in Friday before she leaves her bedroom.
It is, yeah, this song, but it is funny. Like, it's funny, the things that she is saying, the things that she chose to describe are extremely funny to me.
The important things. What time the
And
date
then-
started. What he was wearing. Hold on. She's describing a crime scene, isn't she? And once again, a more interesting story is hinted at, but never actually happened.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I think I'm with
mostly-
Mike on this
Taylor
one.
Swift is the Hellraiser of songwriting. No, not Hellraiser. Hellblazer? John Constantine.
No, I think
Hell,
Mike's analysis is pretty spot on about
no,
how
it
can-
is. It's not. It's not Hellblazers. It's Hellmans. It's mayonnaise.
be here all day.
So, Mike, you gave this 6 points. You ranked it second. And as I was saying, I generally agree with your assessment. Like, I think that one line in particular is pretty dumb, but I do think the general sentiment of the song is actually a good one and a cute one. But also, like, I am decidedly less cynical than the two people on the bottom of the screen here. So that might have something to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like classic Taylor Swift, and it makes a lot of. I didn't know that, like, that it was from 2010 or whatever. Maybe even 2009 if the movie came out in February of 2010. But yeah, it sounded to me like you could plug it into one of the first two albums. I mean, you could say the same about all the songs, of course, but I guess I felt that a little bit more with this one, and now it makes sense why. Yeah, it sounds like Taylor Swift. It doesn't sound like sci-fi. It sounds like a Taylor Swift song, which is fine. But yeah, I thought it was pleasant. Obviously, I thought it was more pleasant than 5 other songs on the album. But I would definitely rank it up over. I don't know how many, but at least a few on the main Fearless album, main slash platinum edition Fearless album. I think it could hold its own somewhere in middle-ish, which I guess, as I say middle-ish, it doesn't sound like a big compliment, but I mean it in a good way. I don't think it's one of the weakest songs. Not to shit on Victor, but I would not put it at the bottom of Fearless. But yeah,
I don't
not
think
an
I
all-time
would
Taylor Swift
anymore.
classic, but not a bad one either. Not a bad one at all.
I will say this.
Basically,
Oh, go ahead.
Greg and Mike are Calvin's dad saying things could be a lot worse, and Steve and I are Calvin saying, yeah, but they could be a lot better too.
It's like I'm listening to Taylor Swift. I never thought I would be going this deep with Taylor Swift. So I'm like, how much do I like this as a guy who is not Taylor Swift's target audience? As a guy who did not think he would be going this far with Taylor Swift, like, it's not a bad Taylor Swift song. Is it going to make my personal favorite top 1,000 songs? No, but I like thousands of songs, so that's not an insult either.
I will say I'm looking forward to when we get to Tortured Poets, where there's both sci-fi and fantasy on that album. She gets abducted by aliens and becomes a witch.
Ooh.
I fell asleep during that album, so I didn't remember any of that happening.
Well, but also you don't pay attention to the lyrics. Like, oh, Victor didn't notice the lyrics on a song. No way.
Yeah, while I was driving to work on the highway. I can't believe it.
The day was a fairy tale. I was a witch. You got abducted by aliens.
Now there's a song.
Right, there's a song.
That is
already a bunch of stuff's happening.
Right, that is a song that is guaranteed to be successful. Like all of our musical projects.
Why do we need to bother with that anymore? Taylor Swift has already achieved everything an artist could possibly need to achieve. Now she could just start doing actually interesting stuff if she wanted.
Right.
Or she could move out into the woods like she pretends to want to do in that one song.
I think Tortured Poets is interesting. I'm looking forward to being the only one standing up for that album, as that is the Lamb Lies Down on Broadway of her catalog, and I am planting my flag firmly in the stand.
The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. Lamb Lies Down on Broadway is not full of like half-hearted loops.
Are you sure you haven't? Have you listened to Lamb Lies Down on Broadway?
Yeah, they're full-hearted loops.
If we're talking about like an overly long, pretentious album that does like kind of the same thing over and over again, and you're like, but the Lamb Lies Down on Broadway does it in a cool way, bro.
Yeah, I mean that's all there is to it.
Okay. It's different because it was the 70s and it was done by guys.
It's different because Gavin told me to listen to it instead of Greg.
That's probably more what it is.
That is a fair contention.
You know, if Taylor Swift was a 70s progressive rock band, you'd probably think she was cooler.
I mean, yeah, that's a great idea. Why doesn't she do that?
Yeah, she should do a prog rock album.
All right, so we're actually at the...
Yeah, basically what you're saying is if she wrote interesting songs, she'd be more interesting to me. Yeah, that's exactly what would happen.
if you seriously are able to say with a straight face, The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway is interesting musically and not repetitive and boring. Like, I like Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. It is a stupidly pretentious, over-the-top album, but a lot of it's like, we're going to do the same thing over and over again for minutes, and it's going to put you to sleep.
I do like Reveal.
All right, the ranking from the bottom to the top. You All Over Me. We Were Happy. Don't You. That's When. Bye Bye Baby. Today Was a Fairy Tale. But the best song on this ranking, according to this panel of experts and Julia, is Mr. Perfectly Fine, which unanimously got first place from every single panelist except for Victor. Across the board, everyone put this in first place except for Victor. It was...
Wait, where did he put it, though? Because if he put it at 2,
Where did I put it?
it's okay.
He put it at 2.
Okay.
But he broke the streak, which still pissed me off. Because there was actual like, this was almost like George Washington levels of consensus. Like, yeah, no, this is it. And then Victor just
Another
fucked it
great
up.
guy.
Another great guy. Great guy. You know, great president. Not as good as me, but you know. Remember, I'm your favorite president. Better than Lincoln. Better than Washington. Buy my digital trading cards.
Same level of racism as Washington.
Yeah.
Maybe more, maybe less.
Well, I don't know.
Probably about the same as Lincoln, but less
does
obvious.
Not hold slaves.
But yeah,
anyway,
Mr. Perfectly Fine.
Mr. Perfectly Fine.
Yeah, Steve, you're ranked at the top.
It's a real missed opportunity, unfortunately, to make the more like the song is perfectly fine joke. The song is a standout on this album. I liked its production. I like lush choruses. They were like layering her voice well on this. I did crack up a little bit about the irony of Taylor Swift singing about a Mr. Everything Revolves Around You, when it really just sort of seems like he just said that he needs to have healthy boundaries and parts of his life need to not revolve around her.
In fairness, the song was written about Joe Jonas, and this is actually pretty accurate. The dude's like kind of a douchebag.
All right, fair enough. But I think legitimately Taylor Swift probably cannot tell the difference between a guy who's like, hey, I'm gonna go spend one night this week doing stuff with my boys, and she's like, why is everything always about you? We're breaking up and I'm gonna write a mean song about it.
Yeah, but no, this is more just like Joe Jonas was.
I'm gonna make $1 million saying things about how bad of a boyfriend you are.
Or just like she was 19 on her with a bunch of people and like being passive aggressive and kind of a douchebag. Like, and like, if anyone deserved like
the same things about all of her breakup songs, I'm going to be right on most of them. I think.
No, there are some where like she broke up with like, I'm not a Taylor Swift expert, but I guess like her breakup with Taylor Lautner, where like she was the bad guy, and she's like, oh man, I really fucked that up.
Greg.
What?
Rip.
Am I still there?
Greg's audio.
All right, now let's talk about how we really.
I'm still.
Oh my god!
I can't get enough.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back.
Oh, there you are.
All right, cool. I was saying that as far as I know with Taylor Swift relationships, which I'm still but a novice, I guess the Taylor Lautner one was one of the ones where she admits like she was definitely the bad guy and messed that up, but like nobody has anything nice to say about Joe Jonas. Like even his brother's like, yeah, no, Joe's kind of a douchebag. Like across the board, it was like, what a bad human being, but he makes good music, so.
The worst Jonas brother.
But yeah, I'll go. I rank this at the top also because look, it's a good song. It needed like a little bit heavier guitars to be true power pop, but otherwise like the jangliness of it, the keyboards, like the hooks, like it's basically a power pop tune just with not the power. But other than that, it's like right there. But yeah, I dig it. You could have seen the song come out in like the late 70s, early 80s. Would have fit into that scene really well. Aside from her like not existing at that point. But yeah, I think it's a really catchy song, a standout cut, and one that I'm happy to have in the rotation. I think is just a really great song. Julia ranked it at the top. Victor ranked it second from the top, so this is not as good as Today Was a Fairy Tale, according to Victor.
It's not as funny.
Yeah, this is like, oh, this is just like
Ju-
a conventionally good song, but it's not funny.
Yeah, this is like a decent song. Yeah. It doesn't make me feel the way that I wore a dress, you wore a dark gray t-shirt does.
I can feel my heart is
Uh,
beating in my chest.
It's beating in my chest. Mr. Perfectly Fine, Julia has to say, this song definitely should have made the record to replace some of the boring shit. I think the lyrics are hitting us all over the head a little too hard with I'm trying way too hard to be witty and clever way, but someone actually interesting performed this. I think it could work. It sucks that there's so much vocal sliding going on. Yeah, mostly agree. I think, yeah, actually, Greg, to your point, I think, a little more amping up in the production could have helped. In my mind, maybe this isn't like necessarily first thought, best thought, but I was like, if you produce this like a Keen song, like sort of a, early 2010s, get a little more juice in there, but like have still sort of lighter, airier, but like, I don't know, more confident production maybe, and maybe have a real singer sing it. Like, I don't know. I think it's not half bad. Like somebody with a little more juice could get away with those slides.
I don't know. They worked for me, and I thought the production and vocal was good. I think she is a solid vocalist at this point. Like, she's not a great singer, but she's passed out of the Bob Dylan category and is now into just like passable. So I don't know. I definitely enjoyed this one. Mike, you ranked this at the top. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I was actually just when you were mentioning that it was about Joe Jonas, and I was like, oh, I wonder what's going on with Then I just started reading about the song, and I was curious if I could see a reason why it didn't make the album, like Joe Jonas threatened to sue, or something like that. And I just on my quick skimming, I didn't see anything, and so I don't. Do you know
Well,
why? I can't see why this wouldn't have made the album.
there's
It's
already a
definitely
Joe Jonas song on the album, at
it's
least
definitely
one, right?
I mean, but it's better than a good chunk of the album.
You know what my
Yeah,
theory is?
agreed.
Is
It's a
that this is the song
legitimately good
that
song.
I think the song got
Um,
transformed the most between the original like country version versus what version we got like 10 years later.
Oh,
So
okay.
probably like
yeah, I mean,
the original version probably didn't sound like it probably had like the core melody and core structure, but I think her working with Jack Antonoff, which he has a very different production style. So this is sort of like you're peering into the future of what Taylor Swift would later sound more like. So she will sound more like this in the future, but this is her taking her sound from the future with a song from the past, and blending them together, which I think that's
Wow,
actually
is this like sci-fi fantasy shit?
I think that's actually kind of cool to take like an
for
old
this
song of
song,
yours and then
that
like
combo worked really well. Yeah.
I think that's an interesting thing to do. Like taking if you took like you know like 80s Kiss and had them do a song
And
they
like
wrote back in the
recorded it
70s.
in the 2000s.
But no, they did
No,
a
if you
song they
took,
did
like,
back in the 70s. I think that would be like you'd get interesting like how our new style works, like looking at old material and how we would change it based upon our new approach. I think that is actually somewhat interesting to do.
what if you took like 2000s Kiss and had them record like a 70s Kiss song? Like,
Yeah, that we do an entire album of that.
I think
Didn't they do
you
like
know, I
3 of those?
I think you can get some juice out of that.
Yeah, all right. Well, never mind. Maybe it doesn't work for everybody. But hey, it worked here. I thought that was a very interesting and I thought it was interesting. I thought that was a good idea. And clearly the rest of the panel did because it ranked at the top.
Well,
Certainly
and
choice.
I hadn't even thought about that it was probably very countryish when she wrote it, and then when they re-recorded it, they made it more like this. I think, yeah. So, yeah, that was a good idea. I'll give her that one. In exactly one circumstance, you got to hand it to him.
So, Mike, I don't think we really got your thoughts on this one. I think we all could have cut you off before you could really talk about it.
No, I mean, I pretty much had said it all. The only other thought I had was just me disagreeing with Julia, where she said something along the lines of like Taylor Swift was trying too hard to be clever or something like that. I thought it worked here. I felt that I know what Julia's talking about, but like for me, it worked. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, she's look at me, Mr. Perfectly Fine. Look what I'm singing about. Like I thought that she had the right level of that demeanor on this one, and I think it fit the song. I think it worked. Um, it was enough where I'm like, you go, girl, but it wasn't so much where I'm like, Taylor Swift sucks. She's being a bitch. Like, I liked it. I liked it.
I think as you were talking, I'm realizing like the spectrum we have on this panel, where you are truly like lawful neutral. Like you are right in the middle. You were just calling balls and strikes. I am lawful good, just like, no, she's great. I'm the true Swiftie, with the shield defending the slings and arrows. Julia is the chaotic evil, just like everything she does sucks. I hate her. I'm just gonna be like venomous with the hatred. And then
That's not true though.
No, that's
because
venomous with the hatred of so lawful evil, I guess. Steve is chaotic evil.
What? I'm chaotic neutral in that I am legitimately using dice to settle things.
Yeah, so chaotic neutral. And then this proves I don't play D&D. And Victor is, I don't know, whatever's left.
Yeah, one of the other ones. Chaotic good.
But I think we have like Julia is in the camp of hater. I'm in the camp of fan. Mike is in the camp of neutral. Steve is in the camp of just like generally cynical,
Mostly
so not
hater.
a hater.
And I'm Mr. Perfectly Fine.
Yeah, you're Mr. Perfectly Fine. And then Cloud is just wanting me to shut up so she can take her nap. All right, well that is the ranking. So general thoughts as we wrap up. Is anyone surprised with the ranking? Furious? Happy? General thoughts?
I mean, I think overall, I think it makes sense. My biggest thing is I am surprised at how high Bye Bye Baby made it. Not like, whoa, this is insane. I'm outraged. Like, out of all the podcasts we've ever done, this like random collection of 7 re-recorded songs or whatever, finished demos or whatever you want to call it, I have no legitimate investment in. But yeah, that would be my biggest surprise. I thought that would have been a few spots lower. But yeah, the top song, bottom song, I'm in agreement.
You feel less slighted by everybody disagreeing with you about how these songs than you do on Kiss albums.
Well, yeah. I mean, what was the? Yeah. What was the? Kiss is my favorite band, so yeah, you guys had some wrong takes for sure with Kiss. But the wrongest thing this panel has ever done was that absurd when you guys put like the best song from Bad Out of Hell 2 as like one of the worst songs below like Dick Around MIDI instrumental track. That was insanity. That was insanity. I was still like wake up screaming.
Oh, Mike, your audio cut
That's
out.
not as good as for a minute. Like, oh my god. Yeah.
Wait, no, that's just a Paul solo song. Wake Up Screaming.
That was insanity.
That is, yeah.
I did. Oh, is Victor making the wake up screaming reference?
He was.
Yeah.
I didn't know Victor was well versed in Live to Win. It was weird too because I said that and I wasn't.
I was on that album.
I wasn't referencing Paul, but like as I said it, I'm like, oh, that must be why that's in my brain. But no, the worst thing worst thing you guys ever did to me was that Rock and Roll Dreams Come True ranking.
Oh yeah, that was me. Yeah, I'm
It was
looking at my
all
notes
you
on that.
versions.
Oh yeah, I
think
ranked.
you and Julia had it pretty low.
Yeah,
I like
had
the Steinman version more.
I mean, I think the
had
Steinman
Back
version
into
is
Hell,
better,
like, 5
but
steps above Rock and Roll Dreams.
yeah, that's. Man, remember how high Love and Death and an American Guitar ranked by not being at the bottom? Yeah, you know what? I'm overall happy with this ranking. I would have been happier if Mr. Perfectly Fine got a clean sweep, because I was like, oh yes, objectively, this is the best of this bunch of songs. But I neglected to think that, like, but what does Victor think is the funniest? So that was.
Never had a clean sweep, Greg.
I think we have. I think we have before, but I don't remember when. It's been a long time. It doesn't happen very often. And
Yeah.
I think this was the case of like it being so obvious what the best song was, that the fact that it didn't get a clean sleep really annoyed me. And so that's why I was raging a bit during the chat, like, come on, dude. But, I mean, I could feel my heart. It was beating my chest. It's hard to top that. I don't know. I went into this, and I was actually talking with, like, some other Swifties that I know, and they aren't that hot on this collection of songs. And so I actually probably like it better than a lot of them do. I don't know. As a songwriter, I like the idea of like going back and revisiting old material, but like with a perspective like 10 years removed or whatever. I think that's actually very interesting, and I like the way she chose to approach the songs here. Not everyone agrees. Most don't agree. Most are like, oh, whatever. These are boring. These are throwaways. I enjoyed them. I'm glad they're in my rotation. And yeah, I dig it. And again, I really appreciate, like, especially like knowing that Mike was hearing, the albums in order, but then knowing he's hearing like, Mr. Perfectly Fine, which is like a song that shows like the future of what's coming up as he continues going through these, as he continues going on his journey. I think that like, like nugget of the future, like it's almost like an after credits teaser. Like, oh, that's what's going to be in the next movie. So it's kind of, fun that he got to experience that. I thought that was very cool.
I mean, I do know stuff like "Shake It Off" and "Look What You Made Me Do," and so I mean, I know.
Yeah, but like
I know
more
a
like
little bit. I know she changed her style.
right, but like more like that song is more fits into like Midnights and like even more recent stuff, which you might not know as well. So that's why I thought it was interesting just to get that perspective. But I do know you. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find someone who doesn't know "Shake It Off," whether or not they like it. Like everyone kind of knows it. Steve, do you even have an opinion on this?
No, not really. Like, similar to Mike, like I don't really have a horse in the fight of these songs.
A white horse.
Yeah, right. They're, the ranking deviated pretty far from my opinions, but I don't really mind or expect that not to happen even. So it's fine. It's all fine.
Victor, your general thoughts. Is this better than The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway?
By a lot, yeah. I was fucking around before. I think actually having this discussion instead of just me like immediately reacting to it, I think there are a couple of songs here that probably would have been better to have on the album than some of the ones that did make the cut, but not by a lot. And I mean, frankly, the album could have just been shorter instead of swapping a couple of songs out for a couple of these. But I don't know. Today Was a Fairy Tale has brought me a lot of enjoyment over the past couple of weeks. So, not a total loss here.
All right.
I don't have a lot of thoughts about these, frankly. It was basically those two songs and then some other ones.
All right, well, that is the episode. Do you guys have anything you want to plug? Any albums, upcoming shows, any plugs? This is the time to plug away. Mike, do you have any cool music suggestions?
I don't have any plugs or suggestions. I did have a question about Taylor Swift, but I can wait if someone wants to plug something.
You can ask the question, just go for it.
Yeah,
I was curious because I don't know. I mean, in terms of her live performances, like how many, if at all, of these songs, not just these seven, but like songs like these seven, like how much of this stuff is ever getting played live? Is she one of those artists where like, oh yeah, like all seven have been played at least a couple of times, or like are most of her, because she has a lot of songs already, like are most of her songs like have they never been played live, or do you know what the breakdown is on that?
From my knowledge of this, the way that, because a lot of these like re-records came out during the pandemic, and it was like in between tours. So she released, I think, like 4 like regular studio albums during the pandemic era, plus like 4 re-record albums. So that's a lot of material in between tours. And so what she's been doing, she has certain sections of her set where it's the surprise songs, and it'll be deep cuts. And so some of these songs have made, I don't know the exact number, but she does have like, this is the deep cut section of the set, the surprise song. So each crowd does a different thing each night. Like I have the standard hits I play every night, but then I have like 4 or 5 that I mix up. And so some of these vault songs have appeared, but I don't know the exact number, but I do know that is a thing, and some vault songs have appeared, but I don't have the exact breakdown.
That answers my question. I didn't expect you to have the actual specific details, but yeah, cool.
But yeah, I do think it's cool, just like, okay, make it unique for each show, and like, get those deep cuts that people don't get to hear all the time. So I think that's cool.
Right.
I know you as a Kiss fan,
I'm
you're
just
just like,
saying-
that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I think I love the idea. The only thing that would piss me off is if I was like at my first Taylor Swift show and I'm like, yeah, she's gonna do Mr. Perfectly Fine, and then I get like Bye Bye Baby.
That's fair.
I'm just saying, if I have to sell all of my possessions in order to afford a ticket to a Taylor Swift show, she better play Today Was a Fairy Tale.
I think that has been played on the tour. I'm pretty sure that one has been played.
Oh my god, that's so fucking.
All right, I've found the clean sweep. Greg, Victor, and I all agreed unanimously that "Send in the Clowns" is the best track off of Peter Criss's solo album.
Son of the Clowns, the best song on One for All. That was the clean sweep.
There was one though.
Yep.
That's tremendous.
Just like we were saying earlier, just because the Celtics won 10 titles in the 60s doesn't mean they don't have 10 now.
Right? Greg, you were the one who prevented the Rambo rankings from being a clean sweep by being the only one who said that First Blood wasn't the best Rambo film.
It's not.
And in fact was the worst.
It is.
Hot take Troyan.
No, that doesn't sound right.
The Rambo films get progressively better as they go.
It doesn't sound like something Greg would say, or it doesn't sound correct.
No, it definitely doesn't sound correct. Well, wait, no, but I'm getting what you're saying though, because you're saying it doesn't count technically. It wouldn't rank as a Rambo movie because the first one is actually titled First Blood. So I get what you were playing a trick there.
No,
You were doing
No,
some
Greg-
like bullshit.
Greg is really just ranking them based on the quality of CG blood.
basically, I'm ranking a Rambo movie on how cool the action is, and less on is there a good plot, because the answer to is there a good plot is no for all of them. But Steve, plugs before we argue about
It was
Rambo.
a Rambo film.
Damn.
Now there's the song.
Anyway, as
RAMBO,
long
blow
as,
'em like
as,
a
long as we're
Rambo.
plugging things, I've still got active bands. You should listen to Regdar and the Fighters and Nuclear Bubble Wrap and Moonlight Drowns. And if you're watching the live stream in the Nashville area right now, you can come see me in Polly's Pocket at Fozzie's tonight.
At Chris Jericho's bar tonight.
Yep.
All right. Well, and Victor,
yeah.
what's your plug?
You can listen to James Gameboy if you want. Hopefully, very soon I'll get this album done that I said I've been getting done. I actually did work on it the other day. And eventually, hopefully by the end of the summer, we're going to get our drummer back, and Baseball Methodist will be playing around Portland.
Nice.
And if by some ridiculous chance you're a Taylor Swift fan who owns a Playdate, my game Initial Daydream is coming to the Playdate catalog, I think, this week.
Wait, it wasn't
You
already
can
on
get
there? I
that.
thought it was.
It's on itch, but it'll soon be on the on-device store.
Ah, cool. And hey, I helped make that, so
Yeah, Greg did a lot of the writing for me on there.
it was a game that was made and programmed.
Truly a game that I was making, and then it got made.
It
And I asked-
exists.
A game that exists.
I showed Greg the game and said, "Can you put some dialogue in here?" And he said, "I sure can."
And then I did.
And next time I make a game, I'm gonna think about that stuff before I ask Greg if he can do that, so that he can write an actual story.
I mean, that would make it better. But also, I'm just glad you are thinking about having me do it again.
I mean, it was immensely helpful to have even one thing off my plate.
I mean, I'll definitely do it again. You just gotta ask, but like, if we could like plan an actual like story, that would be cool.
Big time.
All right. Well, that's the end of the stream. Bye, internet.
Bye, internet.
Bye, baby.
Hey.
Hey. All right. That was a good ending. All right. Well, thank you guys so much.